Hi everybody, Mark here with Couch to Camino 2026, and today we're going to be talking about budget, the big scary one. People get wrapped up almost as bad as like, which backpack do I need? Well, today we're going to talk about all the aspects of budgeting, and it's much more than just money. If you have questions, ask them down below. If you want a little more private discussion, you can email me at askmeacaminoquestion@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you. And if it's something that I think would be pertinent, I may go ahead and throw it out here, but I won't use your name. Today's episode brought to you by random energy drink I found in my shop fridge. So good times. Could be a couple years old for all I know. Tastes good though. Good flavor. Okay, budget. This is probably going to be a good half hour or more of me rambling. So I'm going to do not a TLDR, but a too long I don't want to listen to you yammer right up front. And that is, there's 4 aspects to your budget you need to consider when you're planning your Camino. 1 is your time, the most important. 2, what's your physical ability? 3, what's your mental wellspring? How much can you put up with? And then 4, money. Those all have to be in perfect balance. If you've got terrible knees, you've got sketchy hips, lower back issues, whatever, 4 to 6 weeks on trail may not be the best option for you. Shorter Camino sections may be your best option. Do a short section, take the bus or the train to a next major city, rest there for 3 or 4 days, do as much as you can, rest there for 3 or 4 days, do as much as you can. That's balancing your physical abilities and your time. That will tell you I need X number of days as opposed to Y number of days because I'm going to have these extra rest days. If you've really never traveled very much, you're used to being alone, you're a fairly introvert person, the Camino can be really overwhelming. Recognizing that fact in yourself is not a bad thing. Knowing how much uncertainty and change you can put up with day to day is a real good thing to know before you go planning and spending all the money, spending all the time and effort to get ready to go do something for 4 to 6 weeks. Then it turns out after 2 weeks, mentally you're just kind of done with the whole thing. Now what? So, another aspect to balance. Time. How much time do you realistically have? Can you walk away from your job for 4 to 6 weeks? Can you walk away from your family or significant others, pets, houseplants, mom and dad? Can you walk away from them for 4 to 6 weeks or more with, and not be worrying about it, not having to shag calls every day to the point where it's going to impact your Camino? It's really something to think about. I probably, until we get some things figured out with my mom and dad, I probably can't go back and do another full Camino until we get those things kind of nailed down. It's just the way life is. If you're in the gap between, say, high school and college and starting your new career, hey, you may not be able to travel very widely or for very long coming up for the next few years. So is it in your best interest to do a full Camino and that's all you experience, or take that same 4 to 6 weeks that you were going to do a Camino, fly into Paris and spend a week in Paris, stay in a youth hostel in Paris, goof off, amazing city, do parts of the Camino that you can. When you get done, go down to Madrid and hang out in Madrid for a week, explore there. Portugal is just really close. I've taken the bus from Madrid to Portugal. It's worth going to Porto. You can fly into Paris, fly out of Porto or Lisbon or wherever, experience as much as you can because you may not be able to get back there for quite some time. So there's your time to, what's the best use of your time to get the most meaningful impact for when you're there. Budget, the last budget item being money, self-explanatory. You may have to look realistically at what you can afford to do. If that means that you do a comfortable Camino that is half as long, maybe you start in León instead of doing the whole thing, that's great. If your budget is fairly low, maybe you're staying in donativos, you're helping to do laundry and scrub bathrooms to help pay for your lodging each night. You're cooking in the communal kitchens. Get used to a lot of spaghetti. You're going to be making yourself a lot of spaghetti. You're washing your clothes in the sink. You're doing this, whatever you can. You're making your own lunches instead of buying them at the bars and cafes along the way. There's ways to save money, but there are trade-offs. So be realistic about, if that's not what you want, maybe a shorter Camino might work out better for you, just because you're going to have a little more money to spend making that day-to-day existence a little better. Nothing wrong with that. We all have to figure out what's best for us. And again, like I said in the last one, walk your own Camino. Don't let somebody else insist that you've got to do from Saint-Jean to Santiago, or you're not a real pilgrim, and you're not a real pilgrim if you're not staying in the albergues in a bunk bed next to some guy snoring. Do what's best for you, but balance those four things. Okay, that out of the way, let's talk a little more about the individual bits of the budget. Let's start with physical. Be realistic. Right now I'm 241 days out. I'm in good shape. It takes me about a month of walking to get ready to go. I spend a lot of time in the gym, so my strength is there. I need to build my cardio a little bit, but I'm ready to go. I don't have knee issues. I don't have foot issues. I don't have lower back issues or hip issues. So I'm good to go. Are you? If I told you today that we're going to leave in 241 days, are you going to be ready to go? If you have any idea that you may have foot, knee, hip, lower back, whatever issues, you need to think about getting those things addressed now so that you know what your physical budget is when we get to Spain. You really don't want to figure out that your knees suck halfway through. It kind of sucks. And be realistic with yourself. Talk to your physician. Do everything you can to make that physical bucket that you can draw on as big as possible. And we'll talk about that a little more when we get into training. Probably sometime this fall when it cools down, we'll start taking some training walks together and talk about my preferred way to train. But training is about making that bucket deeper and bigger. The mental side of the mental section of the balance. The Camino can be very challenging mentally. You're dealing with a lot of people from all over the world, very different cultures, which is great. It's one of my favorite part of the Caminos is meeting people from all over the world and learning from them and learning how to adapt to them and vice versa. A big albergue with a couple hundred pilgrims in it, or say even 100 pilgrims in it, it can be challenging. People are not very polite sometimes. Slamming doors all night when they have to get up and go to the bathroom, leaving bathrooms in not the best of shape. Bathrooms, if you're there in the summertime, June, July, August, early September, every bar and restaurant you go to along the actual trail while you're walking during the day, there's going to be no toilet paper. Just assume there's no toilet paper. Carry toilet paper with you in your pocket, in a Ziploc at all times, because people are terrible. They don't tell the bartenders. The bartenders are so busy, they don't get back and get the things filled. So just mentally, it's stuff like that. It starts to wear on you after a while. So you can get ready now just by being open to, even though you've planned, you've got XYZ, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to go here to here, then I'm going to do here to here, I'm going to go to that castle, I'm going to go to that museum. That may not happen. There may be a lot of flexibility required on your part. Start working now to become more mentally flexible and willing to just kind of roll with the punches to say, hey, it's Spain. Shit, stuff's weird sometimes. It is what it is. So the more mentally flexible you could be, the better off you're going to be, and the longer Camino you can have. I've met a couple of people that have gone home at León just because they didn't enjoy the albergue life very much, and they really didn't want to explore other options. They were just kind of done. They'd had some not positive interactions with other pilgrims in albergues and just didn't want to go on anymore. And it's not like happens all the time. It's 2 people out of the hundreds that I have met and had a beer with and talked to about their experiences. So just, be aware it happens. Okay, the last thing, money. And this is where we're going to dig in and talk a little bit. So it's July 31st, 2025. The dollar this morning was about 14 cents off the euro, meaning a euro cost $1.15 or $1.16. I'm just going to round it to $1.15. For the rest of this and for the rest of my time that I'm going to talk to you in these dumb videos, I use dollar and euro interchangeably because most of the time it's so close that it really doesn't make that giant of an impact. The first time my wife and I went to France, back in 2008, I want to say we lost 40 cents or more. It was brutal. We spent a lot of money, and it was not great. But lately things are better. Hopefully by the time I leave next April, things will be even better. So just know for now, I'm just going to use dollar to euro interchangeably. Sorry, it is what it is. So let's talk about getting there. I live south of Kansas City, so I fly out of Kansas City. I have been watching. I've been watching flights. I stalk the airlines. They really need to get a restraining order. I have this weird thing about watching prices to places I'm not even going to go. I still have price watches to go back to Vietnam, and I know I'm not going there anytime soon, but it's fun. So 2025, right now we're in the highest of season. 2025 into 2026, I have seen prices as low as $512 to get from Kansas City to Madrid. Right now, I think short notice, you're probably looking at $1,000 to $1,200. So just budget somewhere between $1,000 to $1,200 to get from the continental U.S. into either Paris or Madrid. You should be able to land it somewhere in there, depending on when you're going to go. The high June, July, August, early part of September, the most expensive times. January, I've seen prices under $500 in January. I haven't seen them for 2026 yet, but I'm betting there's some real bargains in there if you're willing to go in winter. So $500 to $1,200, assume that. Once you get to the continent, you're going to need to get from either Paris to Saint-Jean or Madrid to Saint-Jean. And how you do that is kind of up to you. I have flown to Pamplona from Madrid. I have taken the train from Pamplona to Madrid. I have flown from Paris to Pamplona. I have taken the train from Paris to Biarritz-Bayonne and then a taxi down. Either way you go, you're looking at train and then either a taxi, a bus, some sort of conveyance to get you over the mountain to Saint-Jean. Assume about somewhere around $200 for there. You may have some money left over. Great, have a beer. But just assume a couple $100 there. Travel insurance. I use Adventure Travel Insurance. I think mine is through World Nomad, but there's lots of them out there. If you just Google Adventure Travel Insurance, you're going to find lots of sites. The one I use costs me about $250. It covers the 40-something days I'm usually gone. Gives me a couple $100,000 worth of medical coverage, dental coverage, evacuation, anything you could think of. Trip cancellation when I've had to cut my Camino short in 2020 and 2024. They helped me recoup the change of ticket charge for change, obviously change, blah, blah, blah. They were really good about that. I have nothing bad to say about them, but there are other companies out there. Just find adventure travel insurance. Assume about $250, and really, it is super, super worth it, just in case. The world's kind of, well, dumb right now, but it's worth getting it. So let's talk day to day. In 2024, I was spending around $50 to $60 a day. That was getting mostly private rooms, and I got really good about making my own lunches, packing a lunch along with me, getting some of my own breakfasts and such, and being fairly frugal when I ate out. Now, for me, that was because the rooms I was in were between 29 euros and 49 euros a night, just depending. There were some places I stayed in bunk beds, so I was paying like 12 or 15. On the low end, you could probably do fall 2025 into 2026 for something around, man, if you're really cutting into the bone, probably 35 to 45 euros. Less if you're willing to stay in a donativo, someplace where you donate what you think your stay was worth. You maybe help clean the dormitories, do laundry, scrub bathrooms out. There's ways to pay for that lodging, and there's lots of old school albergues that are set up that way. A lot of albergues, with the price of the bed, they'll include, and the price of the bed, maybe sometimes you'll see on the apps or the guidebooks, you'll see that all of these albergues are 12 euros or 15 euros, but this one's 20 euros because they're throwing in a big communal meal as well. So, for 4 or 5 extra euros, you can get a great meal with a great bunch of people. It's part of the pilgrim experience, and it is worth the money. If you want to go a lot higher than that, you can, if you don't want to do albergues, there are casa rurals, which are sort of like Airbnb, but they're just rural country houses where people may have a room or two that they're willing to use, or it's a dedicated hotel with a little bar. There are posadas, which are very nice, privately run hotels that are in buildings with historic significance. One of my favorite ones is in Navarrete, where the building was part of the palace of the King of Navarra when Saint Ignatius was a soldier. He lived in that building. So you've got your bedroom is in a building that was part of a structure where the King of Navarra and a Catholic saint lived and worked. So just kind of cool. Posada Ignatius. Great place. They also have amazing food. There's a restaurant in the basement that is really, really remarkable. And then there's a deeply significant hotels in Spain called the Paradors. There's a Parador in Santo Domingo, León, Villafranca. Of course, famously, there's one right there in Santiago in the Cathedral Square. They're kind of scattered around. You can find them on the apps. You can find them through booking.com, whatever. If your budget is unlimited, it's an impressive way to go. I've gotten to stay in 2 in the past because I had a bunch of points through booking. It was really nice. So for 2020, late 2025 into 2026, just assume a budgeting at about 50 or 45 to 50 euros a day for your lodging, your food, and that's going to be living a little close to the bone. So if you're there for, say, 40 days, you're looking at $1,800 for your day-to-days. With addition to, I'm gonna say 1,000 for the airfare because it's easier for my little pea brain. So you've got about 1,400, 1,450 in your travel costs and insurance costs. You add another 1,800 to that. Um, and you can go up from there, but that should get you there. Now, there's a couple of ways to make it a little cheaper, and at some point coming up. I'm going to talk about banking and security while you're there. And one of the big things you can do to help defray the cost is get a credit card. If you use credit cards, that has a robust travel point program attached to it. I'm not going to say which one I use, but we here on the farm, we run everything in our life through this card that we legally can. And we pay it off every month. We get the points. We accrue enough points that we're able to travel internationally at least once a year, my wife and I. There is a $300 fee per year for the card, but they give you $300 worth of travel credit every year. So, do you see the camera shake? It's getting windy. So yeah, there's a fee, but they offset it by giving you a travel credit. So if you're getting this card specifically, or a card specifically for travel, make sure it's one that you're comfortable working with. The one I use, I also have a debit card hooked to a checking account that I love because I can use my phone to turn on and off those cards. It doesn't freak their system out. It's just a little safety backstop. So when I'm not using my debit card or I don't need access to it, I can turn it off. A lot of good security there. But the whole point of this ramble was, if you use a card with robust travel points, then suddenly you've got an extra $1,000 or less that you don't have to spend on airfare that you can spend for your day-to-day. And if you're looking at $1,000 savings on a Camino that was going to cost you $1,800 a day in your day-to-day living expenses, suddenly you only need about $1,000 because you're offsetting that. Give you a couple extra hundred, go from 800 to 1,000. It gives you a little extra room in there. If you say you're going to go in a year and you're like, okay, I got to save up all this money. Your day-to-day, if you put $35 to $50 a week, and I know that's a lot, but you're getting ready for a big adventure. It's part of the thing. Go ahead and throw them in a savings account. Earn a little bit of interest. There's some ways to earn upwards of 5-7% out there on short term. That gives you a little more. The interest may just be enough for a decent room one night or a decent dinner, but it's better than nothing. So, but the biggest point is find a travel card, use that travel card to pay for your airfare. That way your spending money goes towards your day-to-day living. The one thing I really didn't include in here was there's so much cool stuff in Spain to go see. You might want to figure an extra €5 a day to, spend €10 to go see a castle, or go into a cathedral and throw €1 in the slot to make the lights for the altar back turn on. They don't leave the lights on because it degrades the art. Just little things like that. There's lots of cool stuff. So, budget a little extra for cool stuff. Souvenirs. Get yourself a new shirt. I don't know. Get a new Camino hat or something while you're there. But, figure that in as well. But at the end of the day, figure your time against your money, against your physical abilities, against your mental reserves. Get that perfect balance. I'm heading into my 6th Camino. I'm still trying to figure it out. I think I'm pretty much there, but I guarantee my first couple, I had a lot to learn. So we're months away, 241 days out. We have lots of time to think about it. We have lots of time to get our planning down and really figure out what we're going to do. So if you have any questions about budget, drop it down below or send me an email to askmeacaminoquestion@gmail.com, and we'll go through the mess and we'll see what we can figure out. Next week, we're going to talk about the beginnings of long-range planning. Now, budget is part of long-range planning, but if you're going to do a Camino next spring, fall, summer, fall, whatever, there's some things you need to address now. to lay the foundations to be able to have a good Camino later. So we're going to talk about those. It'll be a shorter, less rambling engagement than this was. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. But have a great Camino. Have a great day. And I will see you next week. Bye.